In the previous video, we had a look at how to create a print-ready PDF from our work, but now we are going to see how to save it for web use. In Creative Cloud, we have a new option called Export As, which you can find under the File menu, Export, Export As, but you can also find the Save for Web option, which was available in earlier versions like CS6 or CS5, and there it won't be under Export, it will be just simply under the File menu. So now it became a legacy version, but still available. And we will see exactly the difference between Export As and Save for Web. Let me start with the Export As option. So I click on that and it will come up with this dialog box where we can set up a couple of things. First of all, we can see the current size of this image here on the left. So with the current pixel size, it's going to be a quite big file, 8.7 megabytes. Now that is something for a website would be obviously too high. So we have to do something about that. If this image is like a banner, then we should find out what's that size that the website is using. So let's say the width of the banner has to be 800 pixels. We can just type that size here on the right and it will automatically convert the image. Then we can click on the plus icon just to see the actual size of that. And once you change the size, it will also automatically tell you the file size, which will of course be much smaller. Now it's under half a megabyte. If the file size is still too big, so let's say we have to reduce this to be below 200 kilobytes, then what you can do is to reduce the quality of the JPEG file. By the way, these are the 4 file formats you can save from the Export As dialog box, out of which JPEG is the most commonly used file format for the web, which can hold photographic images really well. PNG would support transparency as well, but very similar to JPEG. GIF is used mainly for illustrations and clip art, which supports transparency, but also frame animation, which I'm going to show you in the next video. And last but not least, we have also SVG, which is a vector file format used on the web. I'm going to keep the JPEG selected, but I will reduce the quality. And by reducing the quality, we will see the file size change here on the left. So now it's 73 kilobytes, which is definitely way below what we need. So we could always adjust this until we are happy. And keep in mind, the lower the quality in the JPEG settings, the lower quality the image will be. So to get the smaller file size, obviously you have to sacrifice a bit of quality in the image. But generally, what I would recommend is to check 60% for the JPEG option. And if that's under what you need, it will still provide you a very good image quality as well. Now, apart from setting these up, what you can also do here in the Export As dialog box is to create multiple versions of the file. By clicking on the plus icon here, I could create another JPEG as well, half the size of the current size that I have. And you can see it automatically will add the suffix as well on that file. If I want, I can also add a third version and again change the size, let's say to be 0.25, or I could save a twice as big version as well, let's say for the Retina display. Once I have all the different versions I need, I can then click on Export All, choose the destination, again click on Export, and it's going to save everything for me. So when I come to the folder on my computer, I can see these 3 different versions. So there's one JPEG, the 0.5, which is the half size, and the double size JPEG as well. Another interesting thing that you can do also only in Creative Cloud is you can save layers out independently. You could select more than one layer as well, like let's say the elephant and the girl's layers. And then I can right click on them and choose Export As, which will come up with the same dialog box, but now you will see each of the selected layers separately. And we could set up the same settings for them. So in case, for example, I need transparency, I would choose PNG for both of these. So the girl still has the JPEG option, which means that it doesn't have transparency. But once I choose PNG, it will also support transparency, thanks to the mask that we created in an earlier video. And just like before, I could set up all the sizes and I could decide how many versions I need for these. So this is all great, but what if you don't have Creative Cloud? So in earlier versions, what you can do is to use the Save for Web option, which we still have in Creative Cloud, which won't be able to save you separate layers, but in general it will give you slightly more options for each file format. I think in Creative Cloud they try to simplify this dialog box, because to be honest, it's a little bit overwhelming, the amount of settings we have here. Although they can be very useful if you are fully aware how to use them. As a general guide, I recommend to use the presets. So if you want to save a JPEG and you know that you need a high quality JPEG, you just select that, and then you can refine the settings. What I like is I can switch between the original and the optimized version of the image, or I can see the 2-up version as well, where I can see them side by side. And we can also reduce the size here, let's say to 25%, because it was a huge file. Now I can zoom slightly closer as well, because we are looking at it from a distance, 100%. So if I change the JPEG's quality, and let's say I reduce it down to 0, you will see immediately the difference between the left and the right. So on the left we see the original image quality, and on the right we see the compressed version. And the compression artifact is clearly visible if we have the lowest quality set for the JPEG. In this dialog box, you even have the option to preview the current image with the current settings in a browser. If I click on that, it will open up a window in your default browser where you can see exactly how it's going to look like. Plus, it gives you all the important information about the image, especially the file size, which currently is 50 kilobytes. And similarly to the export as option, we also have GIF, PNG, but we don't have support for SVG in this dialog box. Instead, we have support for another file format, the WBMP. I'm not going to go into great detail on the differences between these file formats. Instead, I recommend for you to download the PDF from my website, which explains exactly the specifications of each image file format you can save from Photoshop, and how and when to use them. But that's all you need to know about saving for web. And now in the next video, we can talk about another very interesting feature, creating animations and handling video layers.